So hello, welcome to the second episode of the Gary Parkinson podcast, Parky's Pals. Tonight it's all about Burnley, and I'm joined by two legends from the Clarets, David Eyres and Jamie Hoyland. How are you getting on, fellas? Is lockdown treating you all right?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I think everybody's, suffering a little bit in terms of, we're not allowed to do certain things, but you need to be sensible at these times and just, go along with the flow. But yeah, everything's good. All the family's well as well.
Everything all right at your end, Jamie?
Yeah, just cabin fever, Luke. Cabin fever.
Well,
as you know, I'm quite a people person. I like to be people. I like to be sociable. And so to be stuck for 9 months is a bit of a nightmare. But like Eyres says, reiterate everything what Eyres says. I mean, my parents are both 88. Still going strong in Sheffield, so we've got to look after the elderly and people who can get it. So that's the main thing at the moment. But I do see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, which is a good thing now. So which is good.
Yeah, hopefully news fans that might be able to come back in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be all good. But let's kick on to the football and chat about my dad and the Burnley days and stuff. Eyres, I'll start with you because you would have been at Burnley already when my dad got there. What was your first memories of him coming in? Obviously, it would have been a bit of a decent signing. He would have been playing in the Premier League not too long before he came, obviously, into Bolton and then to Burnley. But what was it like when he arrived at Turf Moor?
Yeah, he was a shy lad, wasn't he, James? As soon as he come in the dressing room, he made us aware that he'd had, Premiership quality and, he had the banter to go with it, to be fair. But we all knew about him. We knew, certainly from his days from Middlesbrough, some of the goals he'd scored as well. He certainly was going to improve Burnley as a football club, and it certainly turned out to be with him getting the winning in the last game we played in 93-94. So great character, and like you say, he did improve the team. We had good players, we had a good squad, but he came in and he played a massive part. And like you say, to get the winner in the playoff final is probably as good as anything, I would have thought, and he's still very proud of it, I'm sure, and like you are as a family.
Yeah, definitely. I've still got the picture up there on my wall at my house now as well, so not a day goes by without that. But Jamie, I know you used to take the mick out of him as well for his boy band haircuts and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I came later, and probably I weren't a good signing for Burnley like Parky were, but there you go. I came in, you went to Goldthorpe, you either went right or left. There were 2 dressing rooms. I went left. Bloody nightmare because I got stuck next to him getting changed. So I got Parky on my right every morning. Not only the boy band haircut, I got the Chelsea boots, all that stuff. But I'd just come as well from Sheffield United, who, believe it or not, played in Premier League then. So he couldn't give me all that. He couldn't give me all the stuff, but he used to tell all them how good he were. But deep down, we knew, really. We knew how poor he were and how poor he'd been at Middlesbrough and Bolton, and so it weren't a problem. But yeah, fantastic, like as he said, it was like we had a real mixed dressing room of characters, and he fitted into that brilliantly, how everything bounced off each other. We had some real strong characters in there, and you had to have your wits about you, and your dad, he certainly had them about him all the time.
I was going to say, there's some big characters in that dressing room when you were both there. Was there some days when you were trying to hide if you'd done something wrong in training or in a game, or would you get absolutely battered when you went in there, Eyres?
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Luke, there'd be times, and I'm sure Jamie would say the same, when you get up and you're thinking, I can't be arsed going training today, and, but you knew when you got in that dressing room and Tweety Pie walked in, that was it. You just, he'd say something about your clothes straight away. You'd always take the pee out of your clothes and whatever. I mean, he was a next man, he said. So, he was always prim and proper. He had his shorts on, and but straight away, the banter was there before he got changed to go out training. And I know, obviously, the banter continued after training in the showers, which, probably this day and age, you probably couldn't get away with it. But, it was fantastic to have somebody like him coming into the dressing room and, throwing the banter about. And like Jamie said, there was some big characters and there was lads there, didn't always get his jokes and things like that. But you know, he certainly played a big part, and the dressing room was fantastic. And again, when Jamie didn't come along till, you know, later on the next season and that, but, you know, he's put himself down a little bit there. He played a big part when he came into the team with, you know, with his presence, his character. He played in the top level, and he loved to have a bit of stick before the game as well.
There was a funny story, wasn't there, actually, Jamie, about how you came to Burnley, something about a referees meeting.
Yeah, there was. Unbelievable. With Clive. Clive Middlemass, like 1-2. And I'd gone, it was at York City, and because I was the PFA rep, I'd gone, and it was about how bad the referees were going to be again that season, and they were telling you the rules, what they weren't going to do, and all that. Nothing's changed. And I remember sat there, I can't remember who we were, Sheffield United, and Clive's on the other side, and it were like he started like doing charades, like what? I couldn't understand Clive best of times, and he's like doing this. It's like 2 syllables, Burnley, and you're like, what? Would you like to come to Burnley? And he's saying it over at room, and I'm like, what's he doing? And eventually, after me, he come up to me and, would you like to come? Would you like to come to Burnley? And I said, yeah, love to come, Clive. And that's how it came, from a referees meeting in York. So, and like the rest were brilliant. It did me a fantastic thing to come to a club like Burnley. It were brilliant. Coming from Sheffield United, obviously, you know my history with that. But then to come to another massive club like Burnley was brilliant. And to walk into the dressing room with the lads we had there, I mean, I remember signing, and one of my best mates is Paul Simpson, and he said to me, you've got Kevin McMinn there, Ted McMinn. That was his name, Kevin, believe it or not. He's not even got Ted in his middle names, but he got Kevin. And he said, whatever you do, get in there first. Do not let him have you. And I'm thinking, what's he on about? So as soon as you walk in, dressing room, he's there, innit? Bubbling Scotsman, ready to hammer you about something. And I can't remember what I said to him. And he went, oh, all right, big man. Hey, you're in there. And that was it. And I thought, right, well done, Simo. And weren't he, Eyres, if you didn't get into Kurt Nogan, got a dog's life. Because he just used to murder him every day. And then everybody else would do it. And if you didn't stop him, Ted, he were all over you. That was it.
Oh, he ripped you.
Eyres, your move to Burnley was a bit different. You followed Jimmy Mullen there after being with Blackpool. What was he like as a manager? Obviously, you had plenty of success together.
Yeah, it was difficult at first, Luke. I mean, when I first signed for Blackpool, coming out of working at Ford's, playing part-time, it took me a while to get used to, you know, the day-to-day banter, the work. And I remember, obviously, one of the first training sessions, I actually was thinking about packing in professional football and going back to Ford's, because I was getting the mickey taken out of me in a bit of a circle. And in the end, and Jamie seen me do it at Burnley before, and booted the ball away. And Jimmy Mullen said, get back in there. And I told Jimmy to go and kill himself. And I walked away, and it was like to see him from Kes. As he's turned around, he's shouting me to get back. I'm giving him the fingers, you know, and I walked back in the dressing room. And then the lads followed me in about an hour later, and they were all going, oh, you're in the doghouse, you are. So I'm sitting there, and the gaffer's come in, Jimmy, and he's gone, Eyres, get in this room here. So I've had to walk down to the manager's office and knocked on the door. And before he said anything, I thought, right, you're going to have to apologise and, you know, take your medicine. So I've knocked on the door, and I went, Gaffer, before you start, you know, I understand you're going to fine me or whatever. I said, but I want to apologise. I was disrespectful. It won't happen again. My head just went. And he went, oh, you do have a character then. Shook my hand, and he went, get back in the dressing room. I'll see you tomorrow. And then from then on, I just got on with him like house on fire. He was absolutely fantastic. And like you say, I had 4 great years at Blackpool, but then he moved on. I think he was assistant to Chris Casper. Frank. And I think he was interested in bringing me in. I think I ended up going on a tribunal for about 90 grand or something like that. But a chance to go and play for Jimmy again was certainly a pull. But, you know, to join a football club as big as Burnley with the fan base, having been played there quite a few times for Blackpool, it was a no-brainer, and just the first season obviously couldn't have gone any better.
No, definitely. I think you came in the summer, and then my dad came in about February, I think, which is weird with obviously the transfer windows now. But where did the bromance start between you two?
Straight away, it was difficult not to. We, like Jamie said, we had a good dressing room. All the lads, we weren't all best of mates, but we all got on with each other. We all worked with each other, and we grew. And as soon as he come into the dressing room, you knew straight away what type of character he was. He was just taking the piss every day, and that was his job. If you were on the bus going to an away game and whatever, if there was a couple of pensioners walking down the road, he'd be going, "Here's he, Tracy," and things like that. He'd just be ripping you all the time, and he was a top lad, still is a top lad. But when he came in, like you say, considering we finished, I think it was 6th in the league that year, we should have gone up automatically, but our away record that season was abysmal. We were fortunate to catch Stockport on a day when they fancied kicking us off the park, and I think one of the lads spat, and I think your dad and Ted was involved in it. And like Jamie said, if Ted's involved with it, there's more than likely going to be a sending off. And the lad was sent off. We went on to win the game 2-1 and whatever. And like I say, I think we went straight to the hotel. I think it was maybe an hour later after milking Wembley dry, going back to the hotel and having a bit of a party and staying overnight, and then travelling back to Burnley the next day to have the tour. So that weekend was fantastic, and like I say, your dad played a big part in that.
Definitely. I don't think he's been that far forward ever since. Jamie, I know you were one trying to get him to push further forward in his Burnley days.
I did, so I could drop even deeper. No, I did. I used to, because obviously I'm only a bit older or whatever, but I'd played with different players, and I used to say to him all the time, with your right foot, you should be going forward, putting crosses in, having shots and everything. But he used to have this, but I think he had an imaginary bungee rope on it, and once he'd gone 10 yards over halfway line, it used to pull him all the way back, so he didn't have to run back. I think because of his big fat arse, I think that didn't help, in them white shorts and his lovely hair. But I used to moan at him all the time to go forward. I wasn't going to go forward. I'd had enough with Steve Davis leaving me on my own at back and just wandering forward. So, but your dad, with his right foot and his ability and his technique, he'd be an absolute dream in modern day football now, as a modern day fullback, where you don't have to do that much defending as such, but going forward, pinging balls, whipping balls in, having shots, be a dream, absolute dream. He wouldn't, in fact, he'd be all right now because he wouldn't moan so much about money we're on, because he'd be on about 60 grand a week.
Yeah.
Well, then again, that'd be probably 20 grand a week less than what he should be on.
Yeah. What about from there then? Obviously, there was the Wembley moments, then Jamie, you came in, but it was sort of an up and down spell then for the club, a few managerial changes and stuff out. You were both there at that time. What was sort of going on behind the scenes and things?
I mean, we were unlucky. When I came in, we had a great side. Some unbelievable, Alan Harper, Inchy, Eyres, your dad, Steve Davis were there at the time, Mungo in goal, Marlon. We had a really good team. Baldrick up front, Liam unfortunately couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo at that time, but great lad. But we should have stayed up. And we just drew too many games. We played some great football. Jimmy brought in the diamond, and it was brilliant. But we just couldn't finish games off, and unfortunately went down. And then that's when it turned a little bit sour with the fans towards Jimmy, and obviously the infamous setting his missus's dress alight in a chip shop in Burnley. I mean, bleeding out, and stuff. And then crowd turning the back at 33 minutes past 3. When we're playing, who was the main instigator of that?
Go on.
Fan. And I interviewed him for my programme I did on radio a few years ago. Tony Livesey.
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, oh, yeah, I had that. And I said to him at that time, at 33 minutes past 3, against Crewe, when they turned the back, I don't know if it were 2 or 3 minutes, we played the best football we played all season, and they didn't see it.
Just going on to Adrian Heath, obviously he came in as, I know you're the blue side of Merseyside. What was it like to obviously play with him first and then be managed by a player like him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was in awe of him. I'm mad Evertonian now, and the results was certainly one of the first. I'd want to find out after the game, Jamie. Obviously Sheffield United, but I mean, playing with Inchy, I haven't done what he'd done in his career before with Everton. It was you could see the quality he had. I think he was about a year or two older than me as well, so he got the extra day off in training and things like that. Which when you look on now, when I was getting the extra day off, I could understand, but didn't go down too well at the time. But no, he was a quality player. He didn't score massive amounts of goals, but he was like the link up of most of our good play and whatever. And he was a very good player. And like Jamie said, Alan Harper eventually joined, and then Inchy eventually became player manager, or basically manager. And to be fair, the first couple of months, I'd say the first month, it was, I wouldn't say difficult, but he had his ways, what he was going to do. And then eventually he went to a different system. Me and your dad ended up playing like wing backs.
Yeah.
And we were doing the longest 1-2s we've ever done, haven't we, James? He's probably going like that, watching me and your dad doing the longest 1-2s ever. And, I think we just missed out, didn't we, Jay, getting in the
John Ward left, didn't he? John Ward left. We beat Brentford away on the Saturday 3-0, and we were flying. We would have gone up automatic, and Wardy got the Bristol City job. That's and he was the coach. He was not the brains. He was the tactical one who'd been there, done it. Inchy was still Inchy. Couldn't stand still. I'll be an Adrian Heath, you be Graham Sharp, like to it, and we'll do this, didn't he, in training? And he was brilliant, but Wardy was the tactical one, who had it sorted. As he fell out with him as well. There were another Kes moment with Wardy, which I still piss myself about now. It's brilliant. Honestly, I didn't know that first story about him with Jimmy Mullen, but that is just exactly what he did to John Ward one day about playing wing back, like giving it fingers, walking up. And it's a long walk back to changing rooms at Goldthorpe, and as he were off. Brilliant when he told that story. But he left, unfortunately, and Inchy couldn't keep it together then, and we just missed out. We just missed out when really we should have gone up that season with a team we had again, and then it started to fall away a little bit again season after, as we know.
Gaz got in the PFA team as well.
Yeah, I believe there's a story about that, Ezzy, you and my dad on some street in London afterwards.
Both his wing backs we got, I couldn't believe it. I mean, to be fair, that everybody we came against that season, and like Jamie said, we were a good side, and maybe for John leaving, we probably would have gone straight up. We just missed out on the playoffs. But no, it was something that the first time I couldn't defend to save my life. I mean, I think it was the first game of the season against Luton. I gave a penalty away, and I thought this was going to be a long season, but. Gradually you grew into it, and most of my work was done in the middle final third, and you had the likes of Jamie and that who cover you, and it was great. So we went on, and we got in the PFA team. I think we were playing Wickham away. I think a couple of days after the PFA, but then she said, "No, we're going down. You deserve it." You know what I mean? Went down with the chairman, Frank Teasdale. Went down, and she actually picked us up. We went down in his car, went to the dinner, obviously got our medals and blah, blah, blah. And then, me and your dad went out and ended up sleeping just outside our bedroom in the corridor of the hotel. Fell asleep, I think we did. And it was a long night, but a great night. And the Burnley fans probably wouldn't thank the pair of us, because we played a couple of days later at Wickham, and I think we lost about 4 or 5-0. And I can only apologise for that, my performance personally, because I still had alcohol in the blood, I think, that day. So, I mean, great memories. I mean, your dad got in it about a couple of times a year. I think he won it the year after, or maybe the year before, because I think he said he'd won it twice on the bounce or something as a right back.
Yeah, he used to rig the vote, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he'd never let you forget, would he? You know what I mean? You know, whatever he won, you know, he'd let you know. And but yeah, tightest man in history, though, Jay, isn't he? Oh my God!
Wow. Unbelievable. Luke, I hope you're not like that, Luke.
Well,
he's careful, Jay.
Yeah. Yorkshireman at heart, that's probably why. You should know that.
Hey, I'm a Yorkshireman, but bloody hell. He was unbelievable, Luke.
Oh God!
You take your trousers off in the morning. There'd be 1 or 2 pence a roll. He'd be on the floor after it under thing. He'd go down into the shower, down into the drain. He'd be there trying to get drain thing up so he could get money out. Oh, shocking, Luke, shocking.
How much has changed?
No.
Do you know what, Luke? I think it was that year. I think I picked them up from your house every day. Him and Jerry Allison. Not one of them would drive. I'd be driving. And then on the way back every Friday, we used to go to the chippy not far from yours. Yeah. And it was in Bury, somewhere in Bury. And your dad used to say, oh, it's the best curry and chips I've ever had in my life. So that was it. You know, we had a pretty good season that season. So we went there every Friday before the game on the Saturday. And that was a good omen, I suppose. But not once did he buy them. No. Not one orange.
Sounds about right. One thing I wanted to ask you, Ezzy, obviously you and my dad then went on to Preston. I think Kurt Norgan had gone there as well. How come there was so many moves? What was sort of going on for so many Burnley players to make the move to Preston? Obviously a rival club, but was it done as like together? I know it was different times across the season, but was it all done in the same kind of thing?
Yeah, it was strange. I came into training. Don't know whether you were there, Jamie. We were just having one of them fun days, you know, where Chris Waddle was, you know, we just like, it was just technical, where we'd be chipping, controlling it and just playing it back. We just had one of them fun days in training. And then I came back and I was in I got a shower next minute, the gaffer shouting, Ezzy, when you finish your shower, come in the dressing room. So I went, yeah, no worries. So I walked in and he went, we've had an offer from Preston. And I said, well, I don't want to go. I'm happy where I am. And he went, well, we've accepted a fee. So, you know, basically we've accepted it. And Glenn Roder politely said, yeah, so if you want to pack your bags, you can go now. So I won't tell you what I said or what else was said afterwards. I think Pash was in the dressing room as well that day, and he was a bit shocked. But hey, it was what it was. You know, Chris come in. Was what, sorry?
I say you escaped.
Yeah. You know what? I got on with Chris quite well. It was a bit of an eye-opener when he first come on. Remember, Jamie, we'd done some running live. Yeah. Clive ran the bollocks off us, didn't he? Yeah. We were blowing out of our arse, and then we got back to the changing room, and then he went, that's it now, you're done, lads, you're done. So we're sitting down, we're getting changed, Jay, aren't we? Yeah. And then next minute, the gaffer comes in with Glenn Roder, and he went, get your kit on, we're going back out again. And we done this run, didn't we? We done a run.
Line, Luke, so a football pitch. So one run was to the halfway line. Yeah. So then you jogged to the other end. Then you meant 2, which were full length at pitch, jog 1, built it up to 10. And each one, and then all the way back down.
Oh.
There were lads just being sick, collapsed, everything. Couldn't do it all. Couldn't do it. Yeah. Just couldn't do it. And it was just I'm going to show you's boss, and this is what you're going to do. And it was like, wow. And then he had that meeting, didn't he, near the bridge about you've done nothing, you lot. You think you're something. You've missed out on playoffs. Who do you think you are? Some of you experienced players, writing's on the wall here. Then I'm looking around, I think that could be me. And he just were a disaster as a manager. I've seen him since, Chris, and I tell him. I mean, he's never done it since, has he? He's never done it since.
Hey, Jamie, but we hammered Clive, didn't we?
Oh, thanks, Clive. I didn't know, lads.
Oh, we hammered him, didn't we?
Oh, we did horseshoes. We did horseshoes all morning, didn't we? Progressive horseshoes, like unbelievable. And then that's it. You're done, lads. Done. New manager wants to meet you. And Harps knocked on the door. Lads, get your kit back on. Manager wants you out running. Hey, where's Clive? Just in his car leaving.
We just about walk, couldn't we?
Yeah.
God, yeah. No, but like you say, that was it. I ended up moving on, and I spoke to Chris a couple of times afterwards, and I had a good relationship with him. He was a decent bloke, but he said the club had accepted a fee, so you move on. So I ended up signing for Preston the following day. Met Gary Peters. David Moyes was his assistant player manager, and I think it was about 3 months later, Gary Peters left, and Dave Moyes took over. And the rest is history, really, because he just turned us into a machine that was capable of winning games. We got to the playoffs. I think we lost to Gillingham in the semi-finals, who eventually lost to Man City, when Dickoff scored in the last minute and whatever. So, and then the season after, we went up and won it by a country mile. So, yeah, happy days at Preston.
Yeah, and Jamie, you coached at Preston as well, didn't you? And sort of after your career finished and stuff. So there's a bit of Preston with you as well.
Yeah, there was. In fact, my mate went there as manager, Paul Simpson. I'd come out of football for a bit, actually. I'd done some coaching at Rochdale, and I'd come out, and then I got a phone call saying they'd all left, all the staff. And would you like to come back as head of youth? I went, no, I don't want to do all that paperwork rubbish. Get me head coaching. And I finished up doing youth team, and I loved it, actually. It was a great club, really good club, Preston. Some great people who worked there behind the scenes. But then everything comes to an end on it, and Graham Wesley got the job, and see you later, baked potato. You couldn't work for him and Dino Mamaria. Wow. I'd been a professional footballer. Bloody hell.
But when you were there at Preston coaching, my dad was at Blackpool, I think, at the same time. So you'd have come against him then.
He was. I remember one Saturday morning, we'd got Youth Cup at Reading week after, and I think we played them, Blackpool. And we had to be fair, we had a really good youth team, I must admit. We had some really good young players who have gone on and played, not all for Preston, but all made a living. And I think we beat Blackpool 10-0. And I remember ringing your dad week after. And, he weren't always the happiest, Parky, when you spoke to him. But, bloody hell. Victor Meldrew times 10 he were. Trying to pick him up. But yeah, we did. We had some good clashes, actually. Some great ones at Squires Gate. You could be 10-0 down at half time and win 11-10 with win there. So that were good. And then at Springfield. But yeah, it was brilliant, actually, because obviously players who you'd played against or played with and everything, and then suddenly you're up against them coaching. So Philly were at Oldham for a bit. Your dad there, Vince Overson, were at Burnley, and quite a few who you'd bump into on the circuit. So yeah, but even though we were being teammates, you always wanted to beat them, and I know they always wanted to beat us. So I had that little extra thing on the side, even though it were youth football.
Definitely, I remember Dad saying that sometimes we always wanted to beat Preston. That was like the benchmark when he was there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Eyres, but I think my dad once applied to be Preston manager. I think at one point. I don't know if he ever spoke to you about that.
What a lad, Brooks.
Probably, yeah.
He never mentioned that. I mean, obviously, I remember him when he was starting off with his coaching at Blackpool. I'd just started going into the agency, doing a bit of scouting. And you're trying to be professional, watch the game, be respectful, don't speak to parents, blah, blah, blah. And then next minute you go, oh, now big ears. You get over the other side of the pitch, give me a wave. And then I'd have a chat with him after the game and things like that. But you could see, I mean, because of his enthusiasm, Jamie, I mean, like Jamie, he's a top lad, got a great character. And that comes out to, when you're coaching young lads and things like that. And, you were perfect for the job. And like you say, I think he had aspirations. He wanted to go on and play, manage, first team level, which I'm sure, he could have done without doubt. But, but for what's happened, but no, he's, it was something I was going to go into. But Jamie will tell you, I haven't got the patience. I haven't, I'm not into coaching. I didn't like getting coached, to be honest. I just liked to go on the football field, get fit, do your shape, blah, blah, blah. And that's going back to obviously when John Wall come, because John was thorough in terms of preparation for games and things like that, which was great. But, sometimes you got a little bit bored and, it wasn't for me. But, Jamie and your dad were certainly set up to do that, because of the character and what they could bring to the younger lads.
Definitely. One thing that I always found funny, Eyres, was your testimonial game when you were at Oldham, I think it was, at Boundary Park. I think my dad tried to lob you from about halfway line and you were in goal for some reason.
Yeah, well, Les Poglacomi, he was the goalkeeper, a big Aussie lad for Oldham at that time. And I said to him, look, about 15, 20 minutes to go. I didn't want it to be like a serious game. I wanted to have a bit of a laugh, and, the day was great. And it was a bit of a laugh on the pitch. So I said, look, I'll go in goal for the last 15, 20 minutes. I used to always go in goal anyway, Jamie, didn't I? You like that. Yeah, when Marlon or whatever didn't fancy it, for the shot, the shooting sessions. Yeah. I'd be like Casper in goal, wouldn't I? His little legs and his shorts. He'd be caning me behind the net. Go on, Casper. I go in goal and just, try and have a little bit of a laugh, and I thought it was all right, because I got in a couple of times. I played for Blackpool in goal at Tranmere when the keeper was sent off. I actually played for Burnley at home when we drew 0-0, and I had a penalty against me. I always said I tipped it onto the post, but I didn't. It just hit the post and went out. So, but we ended up drawing 0-0. So I did fancy myself as a bit of a keeper. So I've got in goal, and then I'm standing, I think, about 30, 40 yards, maybe just outside the box it was. And you can see your dad from the halfway line. I knew exactly what he was going to do, so he pinged it. You know the way you can ping a ball. And it's coming, and I've run back, and I don't know how I've done it, but I'm running back towards the goal. I've managed to just look up and then just hook it off the line, and then give it. Yeah, how cool was that? You know what I mean? I think you can see it on YouTube and whatever else, something like that. So, but yeah, it was. But he was, go on, Big Eyres, save that one and whatever. But no, that was a great day, and like you say, I can't thank Oldham enough for that. But it was great.
Yeah, brilliant time. So just moving on to obviously the current situation and stuff. My dad, you two have always been big supporters and stuff. What can you remember about finding out about the news of what had happened and things? Jamie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I can visualise it now, actually. I was driving up New Church Road in Rottenstall, and I think, it was Tony Philliskirk who rung me, it was Tony. Tony rung me and told me. And I remember I've got a little dry stone wall outside me, and I just got pulled up and just sat there and were just in shock what I took in, and then started ringing people, and then getting more and more messages about he's not going to make it. That was the first thing. People are saying, if you're going to try and see him, he's not going to last. And hang on a minute, he's just got this. And it was like the whole shock of somebody who, in fact, Luke, I don't know if that game I'm on about, Blackpool, were only 2 weeks before. We'd played Preston. And I'm thinking, no, it can't be right. It can't be, because I was with him 2 weeks ago and we were chatting and we were all that. There were a lot of stuff going on. I mean, he were moaning and groaning about all the way to me then and saying stuff, and he weren't happy at Blackpool and he weren't this and that. And then suddenly this happens, and I'll be honest, I was in shock. And they said, don't they, some things what happened like that, you can always remember. And I was just like, how can that be? And then the whole thing just took off, really, and in the sense of people ringing, getting in touch, where he was, who were going to see him, what were going to happen, and it was like, right, need to go and see him and try and sort that out. But there was that many people who were going. I remember going to hospital and turning up, and Billy Dearden were there, who I knew from Sheffield, who'd been at Blackpool, and all these people. And I remember being there at hospital and seeing your dad, and then coming out and loads and loads of football people. And like when you see football people, as we are tonight, where it's a laugh and everything's all, hey, how you going, like, and it wasn't. And people were just shaking their heads and just can't believe it. Just can't believe it. What? How can that be? Because such a young man and such somebody were, like as he said, personality and life and everything. And that happens, and it was just like, how? And still that now, to be fair, Luke.
Yeah.
It's still there now, and well, yeah, it is, and it's just so, not when you say sad, it's just still unbelievable to me, still really unbelievable. And I'm sure Eyres, when he tells it, it'll be probably a bit similar.
Yeah, thankfully, one of the good things that keeps our up is that he can still sort of communicate and have that personality. I know, Eyres, when you come around regular, it's always laughter that's the overriding emotion more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking, Luke, and I just don't want to, because you, as part of the family, are going through, what you've gone through is like unthinkable. I was actually sitting on the toilet, and yeah, it's a nice thing to say, isn't it? I'm sitting on the toilet, and Pauline called me from Burnley and said, have you heard about Parky? And I went, no, why? He said, oh, he's had a stroke. It's not looking good. I went, what do you mean not looking good? And he said, well, we don't think, what I've heard, I don't think he's going to pull through it. So I said, well, I really appreciate you letting me know and whatever. I said, if you get any further news or whatever, just let me know. So she said, well, so I just sat in the toilet, broke my heart down. I cried my eyes out. My missus come in and she said, what's up? And I went, Parky. I said, I can't believe it. Like Jamie said, can't believe it. So for whatever reason, I had your dad's mobile, in my phone. And I'm thinking, I don't know why I done it, but I said, stop this. I'm ringing him. And I rang him. And your mum answered, obviously. He said, yeah, it's true, Dave. She said, he's in Bolton, I think it was at the time, the first one. It's not looking good and blah, blah, blah. And I said, can we see him? And she said, yeah, of course you can. So I think I came the next day. I was actually doing the radio for a Burnley game. And I went to see your dad on the Saturday morning, I think it was, before I had to do the radio. And obviously I went to see him. He was in the bed and he was obviously strapped up. He had all kinds of tubes coming out of him and whatever. And that was basically when your mum said, if he pulls through this, it'll be a miracle. You know what I mean? Thank God he did. So yeah, it was really upsetting. Said goodbye to him, but I thought, I'll see you again, mate. No worries. Went off to do the radio. That was a bit emotional. So I had to talk about that during the game and whatever. So, I was crying like a baby, at times and whatever. Thank God I was on the radio. No one could see me. Well, not that I've been bothered, to be honest. But yeah, and then, he started to come round when I used to visit him in the early days, and you go in, even though he was still like in type of coma, and he heard your voice. I sensed he could recognise your voice, and he'd be chuckling inside, and he'd be moving. Well, I'd be convinced he could hear me or whatever. Anyway, as time went by, and he'd come through, and it's been it's 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
been a long time, and every time I see him, he's Parky, he's bubbly as. It is what it is at the minute. Fingers crossed that some sort of miracle can happen and we can get him back the way he was. Brilliant. But, I come away from your house thinking how bloody lucky I am, and, with my family and what you have to go through. And I go home, I'll have a bottle of wine. and I feel awful, but look forward to the next time I go and see him. And I haven't seen him now. It must be, must be close to January. Yeah, must be 10 months. 10 months now. I haven't seen him. Obviously, I text your mum and ask how things are and yourself, but I haven't seen him for 10 months. And we had the game for him, didn't we? I think it was the year before in the summer.
Yeah,
was
in the
it?
summer before, yeah. When you rang rings round me.
No. You know what, Jamie? He picked two teams, and he picked himself in a team full of young lads. I was the youngest, so you can imagine what our team was like. And you know, but to be fair, that was a great day. We made a lot of money and whatever. But I think, you know, that was the last time I seen him outside. But yeah, I think it might have been January the last time I've seen him. Looking forward to obviously seeing him again, but with this COVID thing, it's extra important that, you know, you keep your distance, especially with your dad's condition. But, you know, when you do see him, give him big love from me and Jamie. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he watched the first episode we did, so he'll be ringing me up after this to watch this one straight away. But Jamie, just some of the fundraising you've been keying that along with Eyres, and I think you did a bike ride, didn't you, quite early on when my dad?
Yeah, I mean,
what a cyclist he is, by the way.
It was one of them things, Luke. I thought, right, I need to do something here. I need to raise some money. I thought, what do I do? Well, I'm not swimming channel. I can't. I'm not doing that. No chance. I'll never do that. And I didn't really cycle because as a kid, my dad wouldn't let me have a bike in case I fell off all the time. So I never really had a bike. So I thought, Land's End to John O'Groats. Let's do that on a bike. I'll do that. No problem. And as it was, I put it out there, and Chris Gibson, who does all catering at Burnley, got in touch with me and said, done it loads of times with groups of people. We'll do it. I'll do all logistics. We'll do it with you. We'll get some supporters who are good cyclists, and we'll put it out, see if any players want to do it. So I said, right, brilliant, great stuff. So as it is, Pash did it. Well, Pash did a day. Andy Farrell, Craig Mawson, and Les Thompson. So Les turns up. I'm thinking, Les is never going to be able to do this. 48 fags a day, 28 pints when he played, and that was 3 hours before kickoff. Les, he's turned up, Luke. Triathlete. Don't do any of that now. Unbelievable. We used to do 100 miles a day on bike, and I'd be rooming with Les. Put in there, I'm like, get me in bath. Les would be, I'm just going for a 6 mile run now. Hey, what's it was like Peter Kane? Hey, what's he doing? And it was I must admit, we had the worst weather in the world going up there. In fact, you came, didn't you, Pearsy?
Yeah. Oh,
Preston to Carlisle over Shap.
Groats or something like that, wasn't it?
It was just the worst day in the world. It was the wettest day of the year going over Shap, they reckon. And we did all like that. But the group who did it was unbelievable. How we kept going. There were Neil Welsh, Mike Evans, what was his name? I can't remember, the lad who from Hope Cycles. And they were just unbelievable how they kept everybody together. Obviously, Gibbo. And it was just absolutely unbelievable. It's one of the best things I've ever done. 9 days to do that and keep everybody going. And, you know, you're thinking, the lads who weren't footballers said they were really worried because they said, what's going to happen at night is, I know what's going to happen with footballers, they'll all be on it, blah, blah, blah. We used to finish, get to nearest pub, have something to eat, have a pint, sleep like that. It used to be Paul McKenna and sleep like that sort of thing. You just were knackered, up at 7 o'clock and away you went. But I think, I'm not so sure, I don't know if we raised about 20 grand or something, or 20, I don't know, 25 grand. Veronica Simpson was part of it as well, helping with the funding, and brilliant. It was just unbelievable doing it, and for a fantastic cause, and the Burnley supporters got behind it. Blackpool fans did, Preston fans, you know, everybody did, even Middlesbrough fans, you know, helped, and it were a great thing to do, you know, and I'm glad I did it. I'm really glad I did it, but I don't think I'm going to swim channel for him next, though, I'll tell him.
You were brilliant, Jamie. I remember meeting up. I only done the one day. I met up at Preston. It was raining there, wasn't it, in the car park? and I don't think it stopped raining all the way up. Did we stop about 25
we stopped at
miles?
Kendal.
We had some food.
Kendal, we stopped at,
Yeah, we had some food, and then I think the last 5-6 miles, I had Andy Farrell Faz. He stayed with me because I was gone. And then he started telling me some stories, so I nearly fell asleep on the bike. But I actually fell off. Remember, Jamie? I don't know whether you remember. I gashed up my arm and my neck.
Yeah.
And Faz carried on talking and carried on the bike, and then realised I fell off, and then come back and picked me up and wiped me down and whatever. But it was a brilliant cause. I mean, for you to do what you done, mate, that it was unbelievable. I mean, I'm not surprised with the legs, the size of your legs. They're like trunks, and they were just powering away. I remember having like a 20-30 minute start on you, and the next minute you were like, you went past that.
No, not zoom, just
no.
There's never.
I'm telling you, Luke, he was unbelievable, and like I say, it was a great cause. But to do the whole Johnny Road,
but I must admit, there were a day, Luke, where we were going from Carlisle the day after actually to Dumbarton, and the weather was that bad and everything that we had to bail out 30 miles before, and we had the like they do in the Tour de France, the van had to come and pick us up, and we were on it, and you've never seen as many dejected faces in your life because we weren't going to do it. We were doing it, but we weren't doing it. So as we're going in the van, there were me, Killer, Craig Mawson, and Les. We said, we're getting up tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and we're going to get the van to take us back the 30 miles because we're doing this for Parky. We said, we're going to make sure we do this. So they dropped us off 30 miles, and that day I think we finished up doing, me, Les and Killer, about 140 miles up to Spey, somewhere in Scotland, whatever they call it. And it was brilliant. And like, we're knackered. You can imagine how knackered you were. But your dad's thing, and I know it sounds like a bit like, oh yeah, but you thinking of your dad on the days when you're doing that, if he could be on the bike or whatever, inspired us so much. And it was one of them things, and we all had stickers on our bikes what we were doing it for, and we'd stop at cafes or whatever, and it was brilliant. People would come out and read it and go, wow, and give you money, like £10 or £5 or a couple of pounds, and say, brilliant lads, keep going. And that sort of thing was just fantastic. And to be fair, if we could do something like that again, I'd be all over that to do that, to do something, and the awareness of it all, which was just great. But as a group and as a team, God, I sounded like one of them new managers then, didn't I? As a group. I mean, as a team, yeah. It was like being back. It was like being back in dressing room, and the banter and everything to do it was just fantastic. And yeah, unfortunately, what we were doing it for is not what I would have liked to have done it for. But that's at least we raised some money, and you did something with that. So yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah,
brilliant stuff. You mentioned Veronica there, Eyres. I know you'll have come across her a few times. She's been brilliant in all this. It's only right to mention her when we're talking about Burnley. Veronica Simpson, who's the Burnley former players sort of chairman, isn't she, at the club?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't speak highly of Veronica. I'm sure Jamie will back me. An unbelievable woman who's had a couple of issues herself, health-wise, but didn't talk about it. Got on with it and was like 100% every time. She was so geared up to making things happen. Like when we had the dinner at Turf Moor, not long after it happens, and the way she arranged that and the money we made that night was unbelievable. But yeah, Veronica, I mean, you go back to Burnley now when you go and try and watch them when it's doable. Well, when it was doable, she was always there on the reception, big smile on her face. Burnley through and through, loves Burnley, eats Burnley. But she was there every day, and if you could do anything for Parky, she'd be a part of it. And I can't thank her enough. I'm sure you probably couldn't, but she's just a special lady, and she's done so much. And hopefully there'll be one or two other things. I think we were going to have like a bit of a dinner, weren't we? For getting promoted via Wembley, and I think it was cancelled. yeah, for different reasons or whatever. So yeah, it didn't happen. But no, she's an absolute wonderful woman, and very proud to know her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just moving back to the present day, I know you two are more involved in the not coaching, sorry, scouting side of things now. How are you enjoying that, the both of you? Start with you, Jamie, first.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a Yorkshireman, so I've got an opinion, so I can do that in my scouting, Luke. It's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm not enjoying it at the moment, like, because I love going to the games live, but yeah, it's good. It's good. I love the coaching when I came out of it. I must admit, I got into the coaching, like we said before, and I love that and wanted to stay in that all the time, but it's changed that much now. And probably as I coached and as I was with the players, I probably won't last that long, really, because I tell them the truth and they don't like that. So now I can do that on my own when I'm scouting. I can write the truth and have that as an opinion. So I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I've been very lucky.
Good club.
Sorry?
Good club.
Yeah, good club. Yeah, very good club. I can't say too much. You see, you're not allowed to. But I've been lucky because you get to travel, you get to see some games which you never ever thought, some stadiums you never thought you'd get to. And yeah, it is. I love working where I work. Good people. Some of the fans aren't, but there you go, Ed. It's amazing actually, because all them years back we used to argue cat and dog, me and Eyres, you see, about Sheffield United and Everton. So and as it is now, I'm on his side. So yeah, I do love it. I do love what I do. I'm very lucky, Luke. Yeah.
What about you, Eyres? You get to do similar things?
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, I work for an agency now. We've actually been taken over both from a company called ICM, who had nothing to do with soccer, so to speak, football over their side, and they look after the likes of Beyonce and actors, people like that. You know, massive company, and the only thing they didn't have was, you know, football premier players and whatever, and Stella are the biggest out there, and you know, they come together, we've joined together, and we've got bigger and stronger, and it's something, again, wasn't something I was looking to do. My agent Dave Lockwood, who's a top guy, was my agent, and he asked me to do a bit of scouting when I retired, and then eventually I became an intermediary now, what it's called, and looking after players. But my role in the company is basically looking after the younger players, being like a bit of a mentor, you know, somebody there who, you know, if they need something, a chat, whatever, you know, that's my role and job. I get involved in contracts, but I leave it to the people who I know, who trust and know what they're doing exactly. My role is to be there as an ex-player, to give them a bit of advice and be actually somebody to lean on if they need something. So thoroughly enjoy it and still going. And like you say, things are going really well, and you know, hopefully things will get better. So, and even more so when we can go back watching football, which is what we all want to do anyway.
Definitely.
What you were going to say, your role was looking after Beyonce.
Yeah, well, my daughter Ellie, she's, as you know, Luke, she absolutely adores Beyonce. And as soon as this company took us over, she said, "Dad, is there any chance we can go over to LA and meet Beyonce?" So, I said, "I'll see what I can do. So let me see what I can do." So,
Brilliant.
You never know. One day.
As long as you're still sponsoring them races at Chester, my dad will be happy. Forget Beyonce.
Yeah, not half. God blame me. Has he had any winners lately? Because, you know, when I was turning up, he didn't. He used to tell me he used to pick all the favourites or whatever. Yeah. And then when the horse come in, I'd go, "Did you have that?" And he'd nod and go, yeah. And then I'd look at the paper and he didn't have it. He's a lion, so I'd like, but, you know, well,
there's a few of us, much. Family friends, who we do like a predictor thing on the racing every Saturday, and he's yet to have one winner, my dad, in about 20 weeks of doing it. So that tells you
everything. Changed then. Nothing's changed.
Exactly. So just before we want to let you enjoy the rest of your evening, just a word on Burnley's fortunes from both of you. Obviously, it's been a bit a bit tougher this year for him, but hopefully things will change as fans can come back. That's always important, as you know, at Turf Moor. Come on, Eyres.
How are they getting on at the minute? I know
Winning 1-0.
1-0. They were winning. Are they still winning 1-0, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think you're talking about tonight. Obviously, the start isn't the best. Certainly, what we've been used to over the years, because they've consolidated in terms of a Premiership team over the last few years. Sean's obviously built up the training ground, which that's something we could only wish for, Jay, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was our golf pitch, that chipping over the what they drive over now. But no, I mean, he set the foundations there. Now it's a fantastic setup. But more importantly, they've got to stay in that division, and whether they win 1-0 tonight, which hopefully that'll be the case. I know it'd be nice to get a couple of more goals, but I think the win is more important than anything. I think they'll take them out the bottom three, and then hopefully get a bit of pressure off and start building up results, because they've got a squad of players there that certainly work for the manager. They've got a system that they play, and they play to their strengths, and they get results. Obviously, they haven't in the first 7-8 games at the minute, but I think once they get that first win on the belt, I think they'll be fine and hopefully move up the table.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Jamie?
Yeah. I mean, I live here, don't I? I'm in Rottenstall, so I'm in Burnley country, so that's what I get all the time. About what's going on and what's that and blah blah blah, and it's going to be tough. The Premier League gets tougher every year, with more and more money coming into it, more and more players. So for Burnley to survive, unfortunately, that's what they're going to have to do. All this about, we need to be pushing on. If they can survive in Premier League and have a really, really good cup run, I think the fans would be absolutely delighted. But going back to the first point, I think the fans will be delighted that can they get back in the stadiums, because I think it's affecting Burnley. I think it's affecting my other team, Sheffield United, that they've not got fans there, because the two fortresses. You go to Burnley and you've got all them, 19,000, 20,000 clarets screaming at you quite close to the ground. Same at Bramall Lane. It can be a bit daunting. When there's nobody there, it's quite easy to play. It becomes that sort of match. So I think they're missing that. And if they can start picking up without that in the next forthcoming weeks, and then they get the fans back, they've got a real good chance of surviving again. But as it is every season, it's always going to be a tough one. But they seem to do it. They've got the manager who the players play his way. There's a lot of talk about a takeover in there as well, which is floating about as well. But interesting times. But I think they've got that experience and the know-how to survive, to be honest, Luke.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for joining us, fellas, and all the best for Christmas and the New Year and stuff, and stay safe. But we can see you in person sometime soon, and thanks for all your support with my dad over the last few years and in the future as well. Nice one. Yeah,
well, send love to your dad and all the family, Luke.
Cheers.
Yeah, likewise, Luke.
And
great to see you, Jamie.
Great to see you, and hopefully see you around soon.
Top man.
At a proper match, pal.
Yeah. Keep doing the work with the toffees, mate.
See you, Luke. Top man.
Cheers,
Cheers, Eyres. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Luke.
Cut off.
Yeah, mate.